Primordial Radio Download Festival 2025 here with Sharon from Within Temptation. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Great to be here.
It's fantastic to have you here, and it's amazing to see where you're at Within Temptation, headlining the second stage, coming on to that in just a little bit. I watched your documentary last night, so let's start there. I think you put it out about a month ago, right?
Yeah.
When did you actually start working on it though? Because it's incredible. It must have taken you so long, not just the production, but the whole thought process.
Well, I went there to the Ukraine for that documentary last year, July, and it was the only show we did actually. Actually, we gave the band off, say we don't do any festivals, and then they came up with this request, and I was like, yeah, but the whole band is doing other stuff, and I decided to go on my own and play with the orchestra and a choir over there, and. Then we got approached by a company that said, don't you want to do a documentary about 30 years with Temptation because you're heading there? And we said, no, that sounds pretty boring. And not at this moment in time we want to do a documentary like that. Maybe in the future, but not now. We would like to do a documentary about Ukraine. Would you like to come with us? And that's how it all started.
Okay. And so were you quite integral to, I guess, the writing process of it all, thinking like, okay, this is what I want to capture in Ukraine? Was that sort of all coming from yourself?
Yeah, that was all coming from ourselves. We also financed the whole documentary ourselves.
Wow.
It's not done by anybody else. And the thing is that we wanted to show the power of music. Not just from us, but from people that are actually working in the Ukraine as musicians, and also people that we wanted to bring on tour with us and see the whole process come from the moment that we met each other in first time face to face to eventually getting them on tour, if they would get on tour or not. And that was also the back story in our minds, like, okay, how does the process go? Can they even leave the country, and how does it work? And eventually they did go on tour with us, which I'm really happy about. And but you never know who you're taking on tour with you. And because that's what's also the reason I wanted to meet. And the second thing was we wanted to have a band that also wanted to go back to the Ukraine, because sometimes when they leave, they might not go back, But these were the right people to take along, and they really wanted to go back, even felt guilty for being on tour with us, leaving their family behind. And it was just, I think, a beautiful story to tell and to see the process they go through, and also us going there and meeting other musicians and talking to them. It was also fans. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How would you describe life in Kiev? I realize it was almost a year ago now, so a lot would have changed. But from your experiences last year, how would you describe things on the ground? Because we can only ever know so much from back home.
Yeah, that's true. The thing is, what I saw in Kiev and what they also told me before I went there is like life is normal, but it's schizophrenic in a way, because at any moment in time it can switch like this, like in any second, and there can be drones coming your way or missiles. But they have a really good working app for the whole of Ukraine, and you can give a certain place that you are at in the Ukraine, and then you will get an air alert when there's something coming your way, and then most of the time you have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to go to a shelter, so it's enough time, so you don't have to panic immediately. But the situation has changed since July when I went there, because the air defense system, which was really good at that time when I went there the first time in March, it was fine and then pretty safe also, but then the Russians had found a way to get underneath the radar and sending missiles they couldn't stop or detect immediately. So it has become way more dangerous. And the second time I went there, I was a bit more scared, to be honest, because of the fact that the risks were a little bit more higher than I thought. But still, life went on. You had weddings, you had people having dinner everywhere. So it was a normal life like you have in London or anywhere else in the UK, but then any moment something could happen.
I was curious about one of the bands that you were attempting to work with, Blind Ace, because they had a couple of members who were drafted to the front line, and it's been a year since that now, obviously realising that. And so have you kept in touch with the band? Like what's the latest with Blind Ace? Yeah,
we do keep in touch with them, and what we've heard is that they can be sent to the front line as we speak. They have been in training so far, but now it's time for them to go to war, which is a schizophrenic thing, for them as well, because I remember also in the documentary you can see him as a rock star, and next moment back in this uniform as a soldier again, and then realize that he's actually going to the front is chilling in a bad way, because you really hope, like anyone you have met in the last few years, that they will survive this war, of course.
Absolutely. So with Temptation, then, you are headlining the second stage here at Download Festival this weekend. You got a long history with this festival, and I was trying to recall, I didn't have a chance to check 20 years of Wikipedia on Download. Have you headlined the second stage before? Is this
No,
the first time?
it's the first time.
First time, so that must feel special.
Yeah, it is very special. It's a big honor, to my opinion. Last time it was Evanescence headlining and us before that, and now we're stepping up one place. It's nice to be back again, and in only 2 years, I'm really enjoying Download always. It's a good atmosphere, and people are always, really into the music and giving a lot of interaction. So I'm hoping for that tonight again. So ready for tonight.
What's your first memory of Download? Like, do you remember the first year you played and what it was like the first time you came here?
I think that was in 2008 or 7. I think 2008. We were here, and I remember doing an acoustic song in a tent somewhere, and there was lots of people, just seeing different bands coming to play some acoustic songs as a promotion. And I remember that I think it's also the same year that we had a lot of technical problems, and eventually ended up with only having 20 minutes to play, and people were still like, yay! After the show, and I was like, and still a lot of our stuff wasn't working properly, and they said like we couldn't notice anything, I was like, and that was the biggest compliment to us, because a lot of things weren't working, and but we were happy that we survived that show and were actually asked back again a few years later. So,
So you had your collaboration song with Jerry Heil, and that came out, was it a few months back now?
I think just a little while. I think a few weeks back. Yeah.
Is new music something that you're quite deep into at the moment, or is it just doing like little bits and bobs, like like things like that collaboration song?
Well, at the moment it was really nice to combine it with the documentary, because it's not really typical with Temptation music, but it has parts of it that is typical with Temptation, but it's very much a ballad. But I love the song because it has this really Ukrainian motive, and it fitted really well with the documentary. And I love that kind of folklore kind of music from that area of the world. And so I was happy to make this song with her. And the thing is, it fits really well with the documentary. But what we do now, what we did in the past, last album, is release constantly singles and singles and singles. And it was also because of Corona. I think we're not going to do that this time. We're going to have more silence and do it with one big bam.
It's one of the beauties of Donington. We get the airplanes.
Yeah.
Has the process of making the documentary and everything you've done, going to Kiev, all of these things, do you think that will be influencing the very nature of a new Within Temptation album?
Well, it has some influences, but I think we did say a lot already on the latest album. It depends a little bit about how crazier the world gets from this point. I didn't think it was going to be this crazy now. So it will be influenced by that. We're storytellers, and we always get influenced by the world. We've always been, and but I'm not sure how much. If it will be the same way that we did with the previous album, because we said already a lot.
Yes.
Don't want to repeat ourselves again with that way, but in a different way, maybe. Yeah.
It's like a fine line, I feel, within Temptation, where it's storytelling, but you also want to have a sense of being direct.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least with the latest albums we have been, yeah. Also because we felt like a certain urgency that if you're not doing it now, when the world is at its most craziest in history ever, to my opinion. Almost. When are you going to speak up? And we feel we have a platform. We are, we make a typical music that we are able to talk about these things. To my opinion, we chose it for that reason also. And the type of music, it's who we are. And I think, it felt good to do it. So I can understand if other people don't want to do it, because it's difficult sometimes. But it felt natural for us.
Mm-hmm. Anyway. Sharon, thank you so much for your time today. I wish you all the best for the set later on.
Thank you very much.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Be sure to watch the documentary.
Yes,
it's incredible. It's amazing.